Chapter 1. The Paper Man Zhou Shen. Young master, do you wish to bathe and change, or shall we begin right away? The woman was delicate, with a face like a peach blossom and eyes like a clear pool, occasionally sending flirtatious glances, creating a hazy atmosphere. Let's start directly. It's inconvenient to wash up in this remote place, and I can hardly wait. The boy, around 16 or 17, wore a black hat and had a fairly handsome appearance. However, his eyes seemed somewhat sluggish, giving him a foolish air. Hee, you're quite impatient, but isn't a bit too fast? We've only just met. The woman's eyes sparkled with springtime charm as she covered her mouth with a smile, moving gracefully. The boy shook his head, his expression serious as he earnestly said, "Not too fast, not too fast. We meet too late. You truly know how to talk, young master. But it's all right, Lun Yang can hardly wait either. Let me help you out of your clothes and enjoy a good time together." After saying this, the woman began to take action. The boy was dressed in a black robe, covering himself tightly, while the woman's hands were nimble and gentle as she slowly undid the buttons. "Today is indeed fortunate to spend a wonderful night with you, young master. Am I not beautiful?" As she undid her clothing, her face wore a charming expression that was endearing. However, the boy's gaze was not on the woman's face, but fixed directly on her long legs. "Your legs are so long, they must be over a yard. TSK, TSK, TSK. The woman was taken aback by his words, and her expression changed instantly. Her legs, which seemed to stretch longer under her skirt, retracted in an instant. "The night is murky, young master must have seen wrongly. A moment of spring night is worth 1,000 gold. Let's hurry and begin." With that, the woman hastened her movements, quickly removing the robe. But as the clothing came undone, something seemed off. The boy's body was made of paper. When she looked up, the handsome youth had vanished, replaced by a paper face with a pale base and strange blush. Ridiculous. Seeing this, the woman stood up abruptly, retreating to the other side of the room, her face filled with anger. "Who made you into this paper man? How dare you come to amuse me? Are you seeking death?" The boy stood up, smiled, and as his robe fell open, revealed a small drum at his waist. The willow wood from the forest, possessed by a malevolent spirit from who knows where, has gained intelligence and lures people for pleasure in this mountain, feeding on their young essence. You made it easy for me to find you. If I didn't, I would starve. The woman's expression changed as she looked at the small drum at the boy's waist, seemingly realizing something, and in terror fled the door without looking back. With a magical artifact, she must have some skill. Her cultivation was weak, and she didn't even have the courage to fight back, only wishing to escape. The higher she ran, the longer her legs seemed, almost 3 meters long. The boy remained calm, took the drumstick from his waist, and struck the drum. With the sound of the drum, the fleeing woman let out a scream, fell to the ground, and began to roll around uncontrollably. Her long legs flailed wildly, kicking up dirt. Meanwhile, the boy continued to beat the drum, his feet moving in a lively manner. It was as if an invisible force was unleashed, causing the woman to writhe in agony. When she began to tire and calm down, the boy didn't dare slack off. He took out a fist-sized gong and struck it twice. The woman originally intended to wait until the boy approached to make a desperate counterattack, hoping to bite off a piece of flesh. Unexpectedly, the boy saw through her plan after the gong sounded. She screamed, blood pouring from her 7 orifices, her breath ceased, and she lay still. A surge of gray energy swirled around her, and in a flash, the woman transformed into a withered willow tree. The boy stepped forward, took a deep breath, and sucked all the gray energy into himself, flowing into his nose. A satisfied expression appeared on his face, and he resumed beating the small drum, bouncing around. Boom, boom, boom. This land is the most spiritual, ascending to heaven and earth. Entering the mysterious and the clear today, there is a malevolent fate, the essence of the dead wood, having received grace and wisdom and cleared of calamity. Zhou Shen, the shaman of Huangni village, thanks the land. Bang bang. Thanks to the gods and spirits from all directions. In this wild mountain nature, superstitions run deep. No matter what, proper etiquette must be observed. First thank the land, then thank the gods and spirits. After completing all this, he walked around the withered tree, picking up a few dry branches. Dressing himself again, he stuffed the willow branches into his pocket, turned around, and found there was no house, only an empty space with a lantern beside it. The lantern belonged to Zhou Shen, used for traveling, while the house was the woman's illusion they had been flirting in the empty space. This willow wood is possessed fortunately. I discovered it early. If it had matured, it would have been troublesome. Tomorrow I still have to go to Granny Zhang's house to perform a ritual I need to hurry back to prepare. Otherwise, if someone sees me like this, it'll be beaten to death before I starve. Every day is truly hard. It's not easy to live again. I can't die again. This was Zhou Shen's third month in this world, and he had never expected life could be so difficult. In just 3 months, he had reached the point of being hungry and unable to fill his stomach. That feeling was truly unbearable, making Zhou Shen unable to resist the urge to eat. Must be said that he now smelled a fragrant aroma on people's bodies, which became increasingly enticing, making his eyes shine. That I've turned everything upside down around here. If life continues like this, I might not make it. I need to think of a way. But with my limited skills, I can't run around carelessly after all. I'm just a paper man. If I'm spotted, they'll definitely be killed. This life is hard for me. Muttering to himself, he felt a wave of frustration. He originally thought his past life was hard enough, but unexpectedly, living again was equally difficult. It's somewhat amusing to think about Zhou Shen died in a peculiar way, overworked and collapsed. When he groggily awakened, he found himself attached to a paper man with a master named Lu, a shaman in the village. Shamans are sorcerers, similar to witch doctors, who exorcise spirits and dispel evil. This world is filled with demons and ghosts, with many strange occurrences, and each place has such positions. As for that Lu the shaman, he was a good person, having done good deeds throughout his life, according to Zhou Shen. Unfortunately, he had no offspring, and in his old age he was left uncared for, unable to take care of himself. It's understandable he summoned Zhou Shen. Unfortunately, that old man didn't live long to enjoy his fortune. He passed away the following month, leaving Zhou Shen, well, a peculiar thing in the world. Lu the shaman had done Zhou Shen a favor, and Zhou Shen handled his funeral, digging the grave, erecting a tombstone, and keeping vigil. But as time passed, Zhou Shen grew hungrier. When Lu the old man was still alive, he at least had something to eat. After the old man passed, with no one to guide him, he increasingly felt the urge to harm others. Fortunately, on the 7th day after the old man's death, perhaps the old man's spirit manifested, allowing him to find a thick book in a hidden compartment under the bed, titled Zhou Wuzhan Fa. The book recorded all of Lu the shaman's skills and various obscure spells. It even began with a method for Zhou Shen to survive, which was to extract the evil essence of mountain spirits and resentful souls. It sounded somewhat unconventional, but at this point, who cared? Unconventional or not, he had to learn. Relying on piecing together the knowledge from the book, Zhou Shen barely managed to survive. However, the things in the book were hard to find, and there were rules he had to discern good from evil, meaning he could only target the bad. That if he mistakenly harmed the good, he would face consequences. Zhou Shen didn't know what those consequences would be, but he had a strong instinct that if he got it wrong, he would definitely wish he were dead. Thus, every time he acted, he had to think through every detail and consider all possibilities. As a result, his already struggling life became even more difficult, leading to unbearable suffering. The only hope in these days is just to stay alive and have a place to shelter. When Lu Shenhan was around, he taught him with care, and the villagers all knew him, thinking that Zhou Shen was the new apprentice taking over Lu Shenhan's position. With a place to settle down, Zhou Shen hurriedly researched the Zhou Wuzhan method and began to explore the surrounding world for self-preservation. Woo-woo. As he walked, a sobbing sound came from the forest, as if a woman was quietly weeping. Zhou Shen paused, his dull eyes moving slowly, holding up the lantern to illuminate the surroundings, but he saw nothing. The night was deep, and the forest was filled with a chilling aura, making him feel as if something was watching him, like needles on his back. He had been too focused on his thoughts earlier, neglecting his surroundings, and now, suddenly, he felt a sense of unease. Could it be a ghost? Unable to suppress a shiver, Zhou Shen quickened his pace with the lantern, walking faster and faster, gradually breaking into a run, rushing down the mountain without considering that he himself was not a good person. After all, he had been a human for over 20 years, and only a talent for 3 months. Sometimes it was normal not to react in time. He ran down the mountain with a lantern, racing along the official road, stirring up clouds of dust. Only when a village appeared ahead did Zhou Shen breathe a sigh of relief. But the surroundings were dim, as if something was everywhere, and he did not dare to be careless. Like an arrow released from a bow, he dashed towards the village. Running home, he grabbed a fire stick to light the oil lamp, extinguished the lantern in his hand, and took out the willow branch he had just picked up, skillfully carving it with a small knife. Soon, several incense sticks were polished out, and Zhou Shen hurried to the altar nearby to light the incense. May all evils be dispelled. May peace be with us year after year. May all good deeds be practiced. May health be with us year after year. I do not seek great wealth and nobility, only wish for food and drink and a peaceful life. After saying this, he raised the incense and bowed in all directions, continuously muttering prayers, asking the black and white impermanence not to take his life, wishing for the health of the king of hell and for any immortal to live a long life. Then he muttered that all malicious spirits should stay away, as we are all brothers. On the table were 2 spirit tablets, one inscribed with the name of Lu Zhengde, the deity of the Lu family, and the other prominently displayed was his own. He mainly worshipped himself, and the incense made from wood burned just like ordinary incense, slowly emitting a faint fragrance. Zhou Shen climbed onto the altar, sitting next to his spirit tablet, greedily inhaling the scent. After about a quarter of an hour, half of the wooden incense had burned down, and Zhou Shen hurried to extinguish it after all. This was his half-month's worth of food, and he needed to conserve it. Jumping down from the table, he muttered again and began to prepare the items for the ritual. Incense, candles, gold ingots, and joss paper. As dawn broke, he took out rouge and powder from the cabinet to apply makeup. To be honest, he looked quite like a living person. Although his eyes were not very lively, he did not appear very smart. Once everything was ready, it was bright outside, and someone was already calling for him at the door. Chapter 2. Evil Spirits Harm People. Zhou family Shenhan. Zhou family Shenhan. As dawn broke, someone outside the courtyard was calling for him. Zhou Shen put on his tattered black robe, wore gloves, and hung a pocket-sized gong, a small drum, a few straw dolls, a grass mask, and several stacks of white talisman paper on. His waist out, he looked less like a master exorcist and more like a rural vendor. He then slung a backpack over his shoulder and pushed the door open to go out. Outside the courtyard stood a 50-year-old man in tattered hemp clothes, fiddling with a smoking pipe in his hand, followed by a 40-year-old woman, round-faced and plump, with a look of anxiety on her face. Seeing Zhou Shen open the door, the woman hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Master Zhou, you finally came out. My husband is in dire straits. There was a problem yesterday, and I sent someone to find you, but you weren't home." Zhou Shen stepped out with his belongings, making a clattering sound as various items collided. The speaker was Zhang Pe, the wife of the head of the Zhang family. Yesterday, he had been nearly starving and had gone out to look for food, so of course he wasn't home. "What happened? Speak while we walk." Zhou Shen took a few steps forward, pushed open the fence gate, and bowed to the old man, calling him the village chief. The old man hurriedly returned the greeting and smiled. "Master Zhou, let's talk on the way." Meanwhile, Zhang Po was staring at Zhou Shen's face. Finding it strange that his complexion looked so fair, she felt that Master Zhou did not look like this the last time they met. Though not a huge difference, there was still something off. The old man walked alongside Zhou Shen, while Zhang Po stood there frowning. The old man could not help but turn back to remind her, "Zhang Po, stop daydreaming and tell Master Zhou what's happening." Only then did Zhang Po come to her senses, hurriedly catching up with a sobbing voice. "Oh, Master Zhou, you must save my husband's life." Zhou Shen asked, "What happened? Didn't you send for the doctor from the town a couple of days ago? What did the doctor say?" In these times, there weren't many demons and monsters, most were just illnesses. At least Zhou Shen had been on several jobs, and they were all like this. If it really was something sinister, there was nothing he could do about it. This was also the reason Zhou Shen had nearly starved to death. There were no real jobs, and he had gone out with an empty stomach to deliver fruits and returned hungry. Zhang Po wiped her tears and said, "The doctor from the town came, but for some reason, he only took one look and then knelt at our door, bowing his head continuously until he bled. Then he shouted and ran away. Yesterday, my husband started acting strangely, making weird noises from time to time. Last night, I heard strange sound from the pig pen, and to my surprise, he was digging in the pig pen, mumbling to himself." Zhou Shen was taken aback upon hearing this. Realizing that this was not a simple matter, he was possessed. He asked, "What was he mumbling?" Zhang Pe replied. He kept shouting about great wealth and riches, wanting to obtain money and wealth, great wealth, come wealth, come wealth. Zhou Shen was stunned again. Blinking, it seemed he had really come to life. But he didn't know if he was capable. The ability to harm others through spells was not something that little Willow's spirit from last night could compare to. He had only been studying the Zhou Wuzhen method for a little over a month, and he had only managed to read half of the book, which was now crumpled. He had only learned a bit of surface knowledge, and many parts were still unclear, not even close to being considered proficient. However, since food had come knocking at his door, he had to go take a look. He needed it too badly. His body involuntarily tightened, and he mustered all his energy, thinking about how to be useful later. If it was indeed something unclean, he would have to exert some effort and fight it off. The old village chief took a puff from his cigarette, glanced back at Zhou Shen, and his eyes showed a lack of trust. After all, Zhou Shen was young, and he had only been with his master for a short time. Although he had seen Zhou Shen perform well, his actual skills were certainly lacking. In the face of a real problem, he might not be effective. Thus, he spoke up. I've already sent someone to inquire about Li Shenhan from the neighboring Qingni village, and I expect to hear back soon. Master Zhou, just take a look at the situation, assess the cause, and see what went wrong. Is it a beam in the Zhang family house that is crooked, or is it a room that is poorly built, or is it a problem with the ancestral grave? If it's a problem with the ancestral grave, it would also be a waste of effort. Although this sounded harsh, it wasn't wrong. Moreover, the old village chief was looking at Zhou Shen's young age and saying this was a way to give him a way out, which could be seen as a kind gesture. The three of them walked quickly, and within a quarter of an hour, they arrived at the Zhang family's courtyard. This time, there were already several people standing outside the Zhang family's courtyard, all craning their necks, as if something rare was happening inside. Zhang Pe is back. The old village chief is here, and the young master Zhou is also here. That young man named Zhou is the new Shenhan. He looks young. Can he handle it? I'm afraid he might lose control and harm someone. Hey, keep your mouth shut. Don't provoke him and break any taboos. It seems like the head of the Zhang family is not going to make it. Seeing them come over, someone hurriedly called out, and the crowd began to discuss among themselves. A man ran over a few steps, anxious, and said, "You finally made it. Your man has been kneeling on the ground since this morning, and we couldn't stop him." Upon hearing this, Zhang Pe hurriedly asked, "Where's my second son? Didn't he stop him?" The man replied, "Thanks to your second son, to be honest, it's still reliable to rely on family. Your second son is strong. He tied up the eldest. The eldest is still crying on the millstone, crying until he fainted." Hearing this, Zhang Pe rushed inside, and the onlookers, knowing the seriousness of the situation, quickly made way. Zhou Shen took off the straw mask and put it on, then followed into the courtyard. When he saw Zhang Jialao, he couldn't help but be a bit surprised. Zhang Dehu, whom Zhou Shen had seen before, was a strong man with quite a bit of strength. Old Lu had mentioned him before, saying he had returned from the city, where he had made a fortune to enjoy life in the countryside. However, he had never shown any wealth, and life was tight. The villagers all said he was just putting on a front. But now this man looked waxy, emaciated, and probably had very little flesh left on him. How could so much flesh be gone in just a few days? Sister-in-law is finally back. Why didn't you keep an eye on my brother? Running around scared my sister Xing. She's lost her soul. Master Zhou is here too. Please come in. Quickly take a look at my eldest. Has he done something wrong or violated taboo? The village chief is here too. Hurry, please. This moment, a rough voice came from inside, belonging to a burly and fat man with a face full of flesh, who is Zhang Daniu, the elder brother of Zhang Jialao. Usually idle and lazy, Zhang Daniu impatiently said a few words to Zhang Pe, then turned to see Zhou Shen and the old village chief, and quickly softened his tone. Master Zhou, don't take offense, this second one has this temperament, but he's a good person. It's just that something happened, and he's been taking care of things day and night. The old village chief beside him explained, and gestured for Zhou Shen to look around. Zhou Shen nodded, first carefully observing Zhang Jialao, but found nothing unusual. After thinking for a moment, he put down his backpack and took out his talisman, striking the copper gong at his waist. As the sound of the gong echoed, Zhou Shen's pupils slowly turned pitch black, and his vision changed. The entire world became blurry, with only the evil energy appearing. Particularly prominent. Under Zhang Jialao's skin, there were actually tiny paper figures the size of 2 fingers, continuously eating his flesh and drinking his blood. Indeed, something is wrong. What has he attracted? This is casting a spell to harm him. Thinking this, Zhou Shen wasted no time and began to arrange various items. Paper money, incense candles, copper coins, and asked people to bring a table to set up a ritual altar. As the altar was set up, he continued to strike the gong while jumping around, mumbling nonstop. Orders from all directions, gods and ghosts accompany, loosen the roots of heaven, obey the same brightness. Evil spirits harm life. No mercy allowed. Today, there is a divine man. Quickly take his life. Please, gentlemen, clear the way and show your spirit. With Zhou Shen's spellcasting, an invisible force spread out centered on the altar. The energy he had collected just yesterday to fill his belly transformed into magical power and drilled out, becoming a medium for the magic attaching to those paper figures. Zhang Jialao's closed eyes suddenly opened, letting out a roar, struggling nonstop. Oh, it really works. It looks like it's effective. The onlookers around exclaimed in surprise. They hadn't taken Zhou Shen seriously because he looked young. Now it seemed he truly had real skills. The old village chief, who was smoking a pipe not far away, exhaled a puff of smoke and instantly became spirited. He couldn't understand what Zhou Shen was doing, but he felt it was more effective than the previous Master Lu. When Master Lu was here, preparations took a long time. How long has it been? This Zhou young master is quite capable. But just then, from the other side of the courtyard, a sudden cry rang out. With this cry, the surrounding air seemed to become a bit colder and more sinister. Zhang Jialao's second son's eyes flickered, and he hurriedly said, "My wife was frightened. She's not quite right in the head. It's nothing, it's nothing." However, as soon as he finished speaking, the door of that room was kicked open with a bang, and a disheveled, waxy-faced, skinny woman rushed out with a curved knife, her expression vacant. Her speed was extremely fast, rushing up to Zhou Shen and swinging the knife down at him.